Is to Usedsurf. Thanks so much for coming down and checking out our Shaper Talk. This is one of the newer ones we're doing. We do fin talks, so we thought, why don't we do a Shapers Talk here? So we got Donald Brink here to talk about his, I feel like, very imaginative boards that he does. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy. This is Donald.
Thanks, guys. No round of applause necessary. All right, so let thank you for having me. Thank you for what you do in the community. It's like surfing is a community event. Like we surf alone, but we kind of get each other because we're into the same thing, right? So let's backtrack. I was thinking about this driving here. Would you have gone swimming today if you had the chance? I think most of us would be absolutely. So imagine all the boards disappearing. I'm going swimming, right? So if you strip it all the way back down, like just being in the ocean, living in this beautiful, look at this. This is like the most beautiful day ever. Goosefish. This is what we're dealing with. And boards and surfing is really great. Let's not focus on these as nouns, these as things for sale, these as things for pride or prejudice. Do you know what I'm saying? The heartbeat of this is being able to be in a community and having fun in the sea. I'm from South Africa. And I grew up inland, and when I moved to the coast, it was like, I get to surf, and that's all I wanted to do. So I would say I'm a self-taught surfer, and I bring that up because how you surf is always more important than what you ride. So there are there's no judgment tonight, there's no bad questions, I don't even want to use the word stupid questions. There's fascination in any question asked, and I hope I can answer anything. I might not know it, somebody might. But feel free to ask any question. We're learning together. And at the end of the day, there's no silver bullets either. Boards will be helpful to ride a wave, but how you surf is going to be the most important. So think about your technique when you're thinking about what works board to ride. There are so many surfboards in the shop, and I understand it's overwhelming. To be honest, 80% of them are not even relevant to the board that you need to enjoy the ocean. That's a bold statement. But if you really think about what you can do, what you want to do, and what you're able to do. What you're able to do should be growing. Your technique should always be improving. Half the options off the table. The next, you don't like the color. The last 20%, that's what we're talking about. So trying to narrow down what you need has got less to do with anything but who you are and what you want to do. Questions. That was a lot of information. Gentlemen, I asked because you got your mouth. All right, so I thought what we could do is I'll talk you through every one of these used boards that I brought in. I haven't sold a used board in 2 years. I've been just 2.5 years. I've just been gathering them. And every one of them has a story. I make my board start to finish by hand. I'm only proud of that because the details that go into boards are tremendous, and being able to control every one of those things ends up with something that maybe doesn't look that different apart from the obscure shapes, and I'll explain those, but boards matter and the details really do too. So stop me and ask questions if you need to. This shouldn't feel like school. Then we're going to break. Please, I want to highlight the entire inventory of Usedsurf and make sure that if there's a board that you think is going to be good for you, bring it over. Let's chat that through. Hey, I'm thinking about buying this. What do you think? And we can talk design if you want to. I'm happy to. But more than anything, who you are, what you want to do, and where you surf, what you don't want to do, huge parts to problem solve this puzzle. Surfing's a puzzle. What do I need? And sometimes you can get sold something, but what you need can sometimes be highlights about what you like and what you don't like, and then how your body's built, the body positioning, your mechanics. We can get into that too. Does that make sense? All right, I'm gonna go fast. This is a 4'2.5" Ubuntu model, Road to Fame by Dane Gadauskas. The exact same size, the exact same volume. All the boards are handmade, volumes calculated. No, it's considered, is what I say. That board looks like incredibly hard to ride, and the hard parts are obvious. You can't roll into a wave. But because it's so small, you can pick up energies in a tight pocket that would never have else been able to have been felt. That's what's going on with that. This is a really old board. I actually rode it in New Jersey with Cam Richards. It's tiny. It was built for Groms. We did a Whistler tour. The waves were pumping. He was getting barreled on this board. I can't believe it's still in one piece, but I was clearing out the garage. My son doesn't ride this anymore. It's too small for him. Boards that are magical come into your life at the strangest time. And for me, the memories that you create maybe you could call that stoke, are more important than the actual board. And somebody asked me, is it hard to sell the boards? And I'm like, I'm really not attached to boards, and I understand I'm around them all day, every day. But you only need one board, so an excess of inventory is actually overwhelming. However, consistently changing what you ride can be really helpful. So don't think you need a board to solve the world. But if you imagine you're surfing and its role in your life, a new board might be the answer. Probably isn't. A used board could definitely be the answer. And that's why we at Usedsurf. These are fun. This was a collection of boards. These were the first two, I call them artist proofs, that I did. I did a collection for a retailer down in Costa Rica. Took the entire collection down there. And this is all the asymmetric boards are stance specific. So that's the toe side, this is the heel side. I'm regular foot, these are regular footed boards. Go left or right, stand one way. That's the premise. If that makes sense, we can move on. Very simple surfboard. Long toe rail, accelerated exit, and twisted rocker on the heel. Slightly fuller rail on the heel, pinched rail on the toe. So thrusted board, apply good technique, board fits in the wave. First fail points on the board with the square nose. Critical under the hook, tube on takeoff waves. Not going to be doable. With creative technique, yes, but having such a big nose. However, on a softer wave or a fast down the line connection, that parallel ultra narrow outline as opposed to something with a wider outline, going to be your best friend. So these were, I made a couple of boards before I made the collection. This was as small as I could possibly go. I enjoyed this board if the waves had a little power, and then landed up on this board. This board was like, I mean, you could fall asleep and surf this board. It was so easy to ride. Then I made the collection, took the collection there, and there's footage on my Instagram of us riding those boards down there. And actually footage of how to surf them from Surf Simply's platform. Once again, how you surf is more important than what you ride.
Could you explain the twisted tail rocker a little?
100%. Imagine yourself surfing. I'll show you on a regular foot example because I'm used to doing that. You're going down the wave, let's say this is a right-hand wave. Every time you go into your backside cutback, even that technique's wrong. So hopefully your knees are pointed up, your arms are forward. Your technique's always going to be, I'm going to keep coming back to this, how you surf's more important than what you ride. But as soon as you open up your wings, get your eyes, because you're coming in blind, as soon as you open up, adjust your hips and the board comes around, well, what's going to happen is you're going to dig that tail in. So if there's less real estate behind you on your heel, as soon as you do that, there'll be a quicker response because if you take away too much board, there's a diminishing return. So I take away not too much board, there's the change. So I take away a little bit, but then I twist the rocker. So I take away less so that I can, and with the twist. So the two things together serve each other. The two parts serving the whole. Boards are a cohesive collection of all the parts. You don't ride a rail, you ride a board. You don't ride a rocker. You don't even ride a shape, you ride a surfboard. So I don't like to talk about a board, an element. You talk about the entire board, the work as a whole. Yes, like.
Is that on the front, the jaguar, the tiger? Is that fabric?
Good question. That's a leopard. You can tell because of his rosettes. And I'm from South Africa, and so I'll always correct you. So, yes, years ago, here's a perfect example. We have Exhibit G. This is a polyester blank, polyester glass job. Couldn't be more simple at surfboard. So thrusted outline, you can see the added change that I talked about. Real estate reduced, twisted rocker, slightly fuller heel, all those things going on, right? This board is about 8 or 9 years old, somewhere around there. And what would happen is I was building a lot of boards for Ian Gottrin, Gatto's son, who you know, and you've seen a lot of footage on. And like he won national titles on the boards, but he was surfing the board so hard. And think about your favorite boards. Where you're sitting and standing, your front foot would spine out on the deck. It's one of the first places I'd see boards fail, especially your favorite boards, because you're riding them so much. So I started putting a piece of fabric over the front foot. Well, actually, it started as elaborate fabric inlays, and then people would order a board, and I'm like, dude, you're doing airs. I can't put a big heavy weight on the nose. So I reduced it to a functional element, and they were always on the front foot because you always had a tail patch on your back foot. So between where you're standing and definitely sitting is why the boards were failing or creasing out. So that's why the fabrics are in all the boards, and now I've kept them. It kind of became a signature. This board I was working on a project with Channel Islands. It never saw the light of day, but the relationship with those guys in-house was really special. And I learned a lot about surfboards from all of them in-house, and Britt specifically. And halfway through it, I realized, I was like, Britt, have you even ridden an asymmetrical board? And he hadn't. So I built him a board, and it was a gift. I gave it to him. And he rode it twice, and his son said to him, Dad, that board's too small for you. So when I saw him, he was like, I was like, I'll just build you another one. So he gave it back to me, and I rode this board a lot. It's way too big for me, but it's a pretty magical board. There was energy in it. And I don't reference that there's magic in a board, but if there's no mystery in something, then there's no mystery in everything. So I just prefer to say there's mystery in everything rather than nothing. Does that make sense? You know those magical boards? Can't explain them. This is one of them.
Are the front fins in the same position? Is it like a symmetrical try, or is there a slight alteration?
So if you change one thing radically on a board, the cohesivity can very quickly be skewed. So what I prefer to do is change usually 7 things to as small a degree as possible. I honestly wish I didn't have to change them, but I've felt the results of the asymmetric quest, and I'm not stopping. They're harder to sell. There's more ingredients in the recipe. They're harder to get right, but I don't want to ride anything else. And I do ride symmetrical boards. It's part of the training. It's part of the learning. Because I've minimized my rail estate, shortened my hillside rail, I've actually pushed this fin forward. Because the relationship, once again, when you're on rail between your heel and the back of the board, you're used to that. So we can't reinvent it. There's a lot of asymmetrical boards with, say, a twin and a quad. I love the design concepts. Let's label that as a wild horse, something you need to learn to ride. I prefer to embrace things with all the boards you love and the way you know how to surf you bringing to a session or an experience. I'm trying to let you forget the board and feel only the wave, not the board. More questions? I like the questions, really. Yes.
You're sounding or asking a stupid question. Is the removal of the real estate stand specific? Your asim go on one side or the other, depending on your stand?
100%. So if you're a goofy foot, you just imagine that upside down. It's actually easier for me to design a goofy foot just because I'm looking at a plan shape upside down. So yeah, just mirror image the whole thing. Go left or right, standing the opposite way.
And on the nose, it's purpose.
Let's go back. Yeah, 100%. Let's go back to this. This is probably the easiest example is this little outline. So imagine a straight, narrow board, fast, parallel, down the line, really responsive. Well, that's on your toe. So the leverage you have being able to push and pull yourself in and out of a wave face because of the way your ankle's positioned, your toe side can endure that. And I use the word endure because it can both embrace it but also get away with it more often. On the heel side, the entire thing's more round. It's shorter and rounder. You could go the other way, and I've done it at times, but because I wasn't expecting this board to shine in critical deep barrel takeoff waves, and I've made some of them, that's the difference. Does that make sense? If you think of the entire board on rail, perhaps I could answer it this way. Sometimes people ask why is the toe different or the heel? What I most often do is take a flavor that you love, flavor meaning a design of a surfboard, and maintain it on the toe side and apply change to the heel. So the way your foot's working, take a board you love and adjust it for the limitations of the heel and your weight distributions.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I get so in my head in surfboards, I look at these things all day and I'm around them, and sometimes I take the words I choose for granted, and I don't want to serve that information badly.
Well, so is that basically to say that you surf differently front side than backside, or backside you tend to like heel stop pivot more than you kind of like use your front forward rail like on front side?
Stop. Heel stomp pivot, never heard it said like that. Brilliant.
Okay.
Why? Because you can keep adding weight to your heel, but you can't take it away. So you can actually heel stomp pivot. It's beautiful. You can actually picture yourself being more aggressive on your heel because you can add weight. If you add too much, we'll all get to the bottom and dig rail on your first backside bottom turn. So if the board was a little fuller and there was more curve, twisted rocker, shorter real estate, and you get through the first hurdle, let's imagine this is a race. Hurdle 1, backside surfing. Hurdle 1, backside, don't bog on the bottom, through that hurdle. Next hurdle is, can you stay parallel and have a long run line? You're on your heel. You're facing the wave. You've got your ability to move your entire torso. Hurdle 2, can I stay parallel? What does the wave need me to do? Now, I can go back. Easy, because I'm on my toes. Hurdle 3, don't bag the... So you're just looking at the pain points. Where's the first place I'm failing? Well, backside surfing, it's on the bottom turn. Second one, hold the top. Take off on the toe, it was easier just by your leverage. So, is leverage a good word? Let's heel side stomp. I'm going to keep that.
Okay, yeah.
Let's find another word for toe side leverage.
Yeah.
It's too sciencey. You can push and pull yourself in and out of the wave. You know, you can wiggle.
Yeah.
Can't wiggle backside as easily, as efficiently, in a variety of conditions. When it's slow and lumpy, it's harder to surf. Why? These are the things I feel. Let's keep going. Oh, this is a board. This board was in the shelf. Rosie Hodge. It was, I believe this board was a gift to her from her husband. Golly, it's a really old board. Same premise applies, you know. I watched her ride this board really good. I think she's outgrown it. This board is an experimentation of this technical cloth with a tie-dye, a paint dye. It wasn't dye at all, actually. It was all paint, all hand done. It has the same relief compression as the Ubuntu. You can come and feel those and imagine yourself trying to figure that out later. I bought this board during COVID. Yeah. And I surfed it down at the only beach that was open for days and days and days, and had a great time. And I kind of went to it, and I came off of it, and I went back to it, and I came off of it. It's a very complicated surfboard. The rails have the chine only on the toe side. See them right here, all these facets. I've played with that on and off over the years. I can tell you what I think they're doing, but I think I'm lying because I don't understand them fully.
What about just rear fins? Were those, what fin did you use in that?
Really good. Very simple. The smallest possible flat foiled Grom tri-fins up front. So a P3 would be in futures what I would recommend. And these rears, I was actually I even ran T1 trailers, double foil, as small as you can in the Alpha Tech. These rear quads are really tight. So imagine this is a thruster and I split the rear fin. It's not a keel that I split into 4.
Right.
So both would be called a quad. This is a thruster turn quad. Does that wording make sense?
Yeah.
Try this. It's free information and there's a world of demos. Don't frown on this black plastic technology, and it's incredible. I love him on my rears. I ran into Timmy Patterson on a really good day last year at the beach, and I was riding a quad. It was a step-up board, and I had him in there, and he looked at me, and he's like, oh, I've been, and we kind of shared notes, and he's been running that, and his feedback, I believe, was from Timmy Reyes. Free information, don't frown on cheap fins. You're looking for, sometimes you want a board to be forgiving. I think boards twist and flex a lot more than we know they do. It's hard to pinpoint that. Fins do the same. If you look at quote-unquote very stiff boards, if you put flexier fins in, it's amazing how much you can feel. Some people say, I can't feel the difference in a fin. I'm like, well, have you tried? When it comes to that example and that experiment, I don't ever want to tell people what to do, but I'm going to tell you that the best thing to do is ride 4 waves. Come in, change your fins, ride 4 more, take notes, then just surf. That's 8 waves I'm asking you to pay attention to. You don't want to ask somebody to do something for a whole session, but that's the only way to really isolate the differences. In the demo program, I couldn't think of a better example. Yeah, they're good. Let's speed up. Lake had a good question. Why are there so many boxes in this board? If you imagine the overlap between a tri-fin and a twin fin, or a twin trailer or a tri-fin, these are my thruster fins. But when I'm wanting to go to a twin fin, I want my fins in an entirely different place. So I cut into the boxes. So twin trailer or thruster, same board, different fins. Yeah, I built this as an art collection for a stab project down in Costa Rica with Eli Biokas, Zoe McDougall, Letty Mortensen, Shane Sykes, and I'm missing one of them, Zeke Zekeli. I got to build them whatever I thought, looking at their surfing. It was part of the stab highway winners in Europe. And so I built them all boards. They looked the same in artwork, but the entire concept and plane shapes were different. They were all thrusters except for Letty's. I built myself some to fit in with the art pack. And yeah, this is you couldn't think of an easier, more friendly, just tubby, round, stubby, floaty board, but it's not overly wide. There's 2 cents I can give you in your surfing. Wide boards are really, really fun, but they're the first thing that can get in the way of consistently learning how to apply good technique. And your technique's the most important thing because it's all you carry with you. So once again, not what you ride, but how you ride. So don't Not ride wide boards, just be careful to only ride wide boards. My North Star is, can I build a board that lets you complement or be shortboard ready? And that's a bold statement, but if you can't on a good day be able to grab any board, paddle out and get barrel, if that's your vision, right? But if we're talking about performance surfing, we're not talking about winning a contest. We're talking about, can you do the right thing in the right part of the wave? That's good surfing. You know, when you see somebody like, that guy just float, or that girl's just flowing. Right thing in the right part of the wave. I think it's as simple as those two statements together, and it's a world of learning.